Everyone, and welcome to Principles of Macroeconomics. So in this video, I'm going to be going through the Moodle page and the outline. And if you have myself in microeconomics, well, it's pretty much the same kind of thing I'm going to be going through than I did any other class. So my office hours are from 2 to 3:30 on Mondays and 12:30 to 2 on Wednesdays. And if ever those don't work for you, we could always figure something out. Class will be from 4 to 5:15 in Hamilton 301 unless that changes on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if ever there's any announcements throughout the semester, and there will be, you will find them here, but you should also receive an email if you have that option to turn that on. I automatically get emails of the announcements, so make sure you check them frequently. The outline, which I'll be going through in a second, can be found here. If ever you're looking for my office hours, it's the building that's circled in this Bishop's map. It's near the principal's house and the Champlain building. Then there's going to be some links here. I only have mod because I'll have to modify those links to take into account the new links for the semester. Haven't received them yet. And then you have access to all of my notes in full format. So that's the format you'd want to use if you're looking at it on a computer, iPad, iPhone, whatever. And then here are the notes in a printer-friendly format. So it's just the same notes, but on a 4x4, so 4 slides per page format. If ever you want to have those printed, an easy option, it's normally quite cheap, is to go to the print shop. They have this file on file, and they typically print a bunch before the semester starts, so you could go and buy one there. So this is for the whole semester, these. Then you have all of my videos for the semester on YouTube, and then you have a link, or you could download the files of this kind of audio-only format I've done. So I've done these at the beginning of the pandemic when I wanted students to enjoy themselves a little bit more, walk outside, do other things so that they could learn on the go as they're driving or as they're hiking. So don't expect them to be as extensive, and you won't require to look at your computer or anything else as you're listening to these podcasts. The purposes of it is to introduce or recap a specific chapter. They're normally about 30 minutes per chapter, so it's shorter than the videos. It's just a good little addition to learn a little bit more. And then you have assigned questions that I'll be modifying from the textbook as the textbook has changed. You have the solution for all the end of chapter questions for the 9th edition. I also gave it for the 8th edition, but the new version is the 9th. Then proctorial information here for you, as you will be going through a proctorial for all of the evaluations, and the video I'm discussing right now will be linked here. And here is some extra material that you should take a look at if you haven't done micro before. Some people ask, is it a big deal? No, just make sure you look through these videos, especially chapter 3, which covers supply and demand. It's not something that's going to have an impact on what you'll learn at the beginning of macro, but at some point we're going to see aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And if you've seen supply and demand before, it's just going to be a lot simpler for you to understand. So each of these weeks are in this drop-down format. So if you don't see it all, just click on this arrow. If it's pointing down, well then you're good to go. And if it's pointing across, well then it's closed. So for each of these weeks, you have the same notes as in the whole big document. So don't re-download it if you have already printed that big document. The videos here are the same as in the YouTube link. And then for each of the chapters, you have these practice quizzes. Typically consists of 5 questions. You have any attempts that you want. There's no value associated to it. And then if there's questions that you don't understand, well, you could reach out to me. But before you do that, I'd suggest you guys to go through the videos that I created to go through my thought process of answering those questions. So if you ask me, I would pretty much say what's here. If it's still unclear to you, definitely reach out. And then for the chapters, you'll see these extra articles. And that is just articles that apply some of the information to that week's theory. It's good little articles, but those aren't evaluated on at this moment. So it's really just for you to do it if you feel like it. And then every second week or so, you're going to have a quiz that's evaluated. And this one is remotely proctored. I'll get back to the timing that you have and whatnot when we go through the outline. Otherwise, to make sure that Proctorio is working on your computer, definitely download it and do this practice quiz. This one has no value. It's just really to test if Proctorio is working well on your computer. I've had some students switch computers mid-semester, go through the process again to make sure it's working, because I've had some stressful situations where students weren't able to get in and the quiz or the midterm or whatever was about to close. So make sure you do your quizzes or midterms early, but also that Proctorio is working well on your computer. You'll see that when you go to do these quizzes, if you've seen my micro video, you'll see that in that video it didn't work out so well. But when you click, it's always going to ask you for a password. I don't have any passwords to give you, but Proctorio, you have to give it a moment to load, and then they're going to say this exam is monitored by Proctorio. So there you no longer have to have a password to get in. The only thing here is I can't get in because the quiz is only available from the 13th to the 19th, the dates I had before, and it closes at 5 p.m. Closes means it has to be finished by that time, not started. And you have 20 minutes to answer the 10 questions of these quizzes. So roughly speaking, you have 2 minutes per question for each of these evaluations. Sometimes in the midterm or final, you have actually more time per question. The reason I close it at 5 p.m. is just in case you're one of those last minute students and you're not able to get in. Well, at least if you're freaking out at 4 p.m., you might have chance of getting help. But when I had students freaking out at 11:45 p.m., well, it's much harder to help them at that time if I'm not available and the people at ITS aren't available either. Okay, so this is the same kind of thing that's going to repeat itself. So every second week, a quiz or a midterm that's evaluated, everything's there. So let's go through the outline. So I've mentioned my office hours. If those office hours aren't good for you, you could always schedule an appointment at a different time. We could do it in person or via Teams. I'm often in my office for longer than these periods, but those are just the periods that, unless I let you guys know that I won't be there, I will always be there at those office hours throughout the semester. So if you have a class on a Monday or Wednesday with me, definitely expect me to be in the office during those hours. If ever the class is canceled due to Thanksgiving or because I'm out at a conference, well, obviously I won't be there. My email, always reach me by email, even if you want to speak on Teams, because if Teams is not open, it will take an hour before Teams notifies me via email that you've written something to me on Teams. So macroeconomics, without reading through this, it's really what people think about when they think about economics. So everything that relates to inflation, unemployment, economic growth, foreign exchange, booms and busts, the economy doing well or not. There's a lot going on right now in the economy in terms of inflation, adjustments going on. So a lot of really cool things to discuss, to learn that apply to what's going on right now. If we go back a few years, inflation was stable. It wasn't as exciting to discuss. Now it actually, you could see the use behind it a little bit more. The textbook is the ManQ textbook. This is the first semester I'm using this edition. If you have a previous edition, that's fine. It's just the only thing that to watch out for is the practice questions from the textbook. They're based on this 9th edition. So the beauty about macroeconomics is on that file that gives you the answers to those practice questions. I believe you also have the question itself. So if you could hide away the answer and just look at the question, you have access to everything via what I made available to you guys on Moodle. So for the evaluation purposes, you need to pass the final to pass the class. I don't want you guys to bomb the final and do well beforehand. So you really have to make sure that you've acquired all that knowledge at the end. Anyone caught cheating will get a grade of 0 and be reported. I've done this in the past. I don't want to do it again. So please do not cheat. And then your grade will be the best of one of these two. For the quizzes, it's always the best 5 of 7. So you have 7 quizzes to do. The 7th is a little longer, but they all have the same value. and I'll keep the 5 best ones. And then afterwards, depending on if you've done better on the quizzes or the final one's going to be worth more or less. You don't have to make a choice. I run through all of these in Excel at the end of the semester, and I determine the best grade. So if you see a grade on Moodle, it might be well structured. It might not be. Some semesters it didn't work out well. So don't rely on it. Look through the actual individual grades more. And the problem with setting up a grade on Moodle is it doesn't allow me to have different grading schemes like I do have here. So it wouldn't be the most accurate to saying what your actual best grade is. So for each of the quizzes, it's always going to be based on previous week's material. So the first quiz is only on chapter 5 and then so on and so forth. This information is here and it's also available on Moodle. You'll see it where the link is. And like I said, you have this 1 week range. It's from midweek to midweek because we start the semester midweek. So that's why I've structured all of the weeks from the Wednesday to the Tuesday. Everything's available on Moodle. You have flexibility. Everything closes at 5 p.m. because of that stressed scenario. So if you want to do it later, if you want to do it in the evening, just do it at least 1 day before the deadline and you'll be fine. The midterm is only in the first half of class. The final is cumulative. It's on all chapters. In the midterm, you have 2 weeks to do it. So a little bit before reading week, all of reading week, and a little bit after. You choose one's best for you. And then for the final exam, this is the first time I'm doing it this way. Hopefully I don't regret my decision. In the past, I've always had an exam at a specific time given by the registrar's office. They would determine which 3-hour time block, but for various reasons, I chose to give you guys liberty this semester. The main reasons, other than to accommodate that you might prefer to do it earlier or later, are based on situations that I've had that either some students had many exams in a very short period, which made it hard for them, and I could understand that, or that they're used to doing classes in the daytime, and now they have to do an evening exam or a weekend exam or something else is going on. So I'm giving you guys flexibility. Please don't make me regret it. Hopefully this works out well. And yeah, if it works out well, I'll keep doing it like this in the future. So if you like it, don't ruin it for other people. For all of these, you're going to be running through Proctorio. So you'll get used to it by the first quiz, and then it's just going to become pretty straightforward. Always note that if you are going through Proctorio, which is pretty much all of you, you will not need a password from me. If you email me and saying, what's the password? It's because you clicked on the link and you didn't let it load. And the other option that might happen, and which happened in my other video, is that you click on the link and for some reason Proctorio is not loading. The thing I did between these 2 videos is really just close Google Chrome and I rebooted it, and then Proctorio loaded, no problem. So if you have any difficulty, do that first. If it doesn't work, you could reach out to me or ITS. ITS would be the best because they're good at troubleshooting stuff. But 99.9% of the time, when you just close, reboot, if the extension's well installed on your computer and everything's up and running, you will be good to go. No supplemental exam. You need a calculator ideally for the exams. There's one built in to Moodle, but if you want to use your own, that's fine. Just no graphical calculators or cell phones. Your ID is required for all exams, and all exams will be a mixture of multiple choice and calculation-based questions. So we have Thanksgiving, which is one of the Mondays, and then on that week there, I'll be gone for a conference, so the Wednesday will also be canceled. But otherwise, I should be there and ready with you guys. So even though this class is an in-class class, you have the option of missing class to do it all online. All of the materials there. If I had an online version as well, it would be the exact same Moodle page. So you guys have that liberty. If you're sick or you have a football practice or something else, or that week you don't want to do it in class, that's fine. You could always just do the videos before, and if everything's clear and you don't think you have any questions, well, don't show up to class. If you feel that, I want to see this again, well, show up to class. So you have all of that liberty. So to be successful in class, make sure that you're coming to class or watching the videos. If you want to be really successful, that you read the textbook either before or after that, the specific chapters. The textbook is not required for you to pass. A lot of people pass without buying the textbook. But if you want to do well, obviously you're going to do better with the textbook because you'll re-see the same information in a different approach. The thing to note though is that in the textbook, there is material that I don't cover in class, I don't focus on, and that material is not subject to examination. Every question that you'll see in the class should be covered in the videos or in the notes or in class. If there is a question that you're like, I don't know where I saw this, tell me, and I can guarantee you I'll find where it was covered. I've never had this question that people say, there's no way I could have answered this without reading the textbook. That's completely false. I only keep questions where I know I covered. So after you've done all of that, the practice quiz questions are the way to go for what's to practice for the class. So each of these chapters have practice quiz questions. Make sure you understand those. Do the end of chapter book questions. Make sure you understand those. If there's anything unclear, go back to the material. And then once all of that is done, well, then you're ready to do the quizzes, midterm, or final exam. But make sure you go through that. When students ask me how to be successful, well, that's the thing. There's no other solution. You can't just do nothing for the whole semester and then there's this secret that's going to make everything work out well at the end of the semester. And that's not the case. So hopefully all of this is clear. You're good to go. If there's anything that's unclear, ask me in class. And I wish you all the best. I'll see you soon and take care.